If you're watching this right now, you're aware that the hit show Brooklyn Nine-Nine ended. It had its series finale last week, and the timing of this is very strange to me, and I want to talk about it a little because I think there are some lessons to learn for art in general. But I will start by sharing my experience. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is an American police procedural comedy television series which premiered in 2013 on Fox, later airing on NBC, blah, blah, blah. Series created by Dan Gore and Michael Schur. So, as I was just saying, I had heard about it, heard a lot of good things about it. However, I had never taken the time to watch it. And last year in 2020, during the lockdown, I decided that it was time to actually give it a shot. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm going to talk about it because I find the timing that I finally got around to watching this show last year and binged through all, I believe, 7 seasons. Yeah, exactly. I binged through all 7 seasons last year, and I saw that it was still, it had been renewed for another season. And it was really weird that this season 8 that came out earlier this year, was the final season. Anyone who's watched this show knows this, but to those of you who don't, one thing that I find fascinating about this show is how absolutely beautiful the main characters are. This is a group picture, and I gotta say, let's zoom in here. These people are so fucking beautiful. It took me almost the entire first season to get over how beautiful these people are. Even the people who are whose role is meant to be the relatable ones, and who, again, only in comparison to these stunning specimens that they're standing next to, are probably meant to be quote unquote the ugly ones, or the less relatable the more relatable ones, are still really good looking. And it what are the odds that all these gorgeous people end up in the same workplace and the job has nothing to do with how good you look? So it was genuinely distracting to me. As I just said, it took me almost the entire first season to just get over it and accept, okay, these are the people. It is a funny show. I fucking love the show. I just said I binged through it all. I talked about how this show has potential lessons on art in general. And specifically, what I want to talk about is how to convey your political beliefs through your art. It's obvious that the writing staff, or the people behind the creation of the script for this show, are very progressive. They have progressive values. That is fine. I have no problem with that. However, I just want to mention 2 really easy traps that you can fall into when you're making art and you want to convey your political beliefs through that art. This is especially true for something that is spoken, like a sitcom, a play, a movie, that kind of thing. So the first trap is to become preachy. It is so cringe to have a character that is obviously just you lecturing the audience and preaching to them through the dialogue. And that, if you want to actually reach someone who isn't already on board with what you believe, that is one of the worst things you could possibly do. The other trap that you can fall into is that when there are characters in your story who believe the opposite of what you believe, it's important to not make those characters caricatures. So let's take gay marriage, for instance. So let's say there's a character in your in your story who's opposed to gay marriage, and whenever they have to explain why or whatever, they're like, I don't know, gays just creep me out. That's not. If you want to get to people, the common phrase of meet people where they're at is really important. And if you want to persuade people, it's important to demonstrate that you understand what their views are. And most people, even those who are caricatures, don't believe that they are. And most people aren't. I think that Brooklyn Nine-Nine, through its 8 seasons, did a overall good job of avoiding these traps. I think they did a good job of avoiding these traps, and I think that throughout the series, unless you're like this anti-SJW type, it is easy to forgive the ways that they were preachy, because there are many instances of preachy lines of dialogue. However, in almost all those situations, it was an offhanded comment by a character that wasn't really important to the scene, and the scene immediately moved on from that. For instance, I forget the exact context, but at some point during the show, the movie Ace Ventura was brought up, and I believe Jake made this offhanded comment about how transphobic it is. And honestly, that is absolutely valid. A lot of people say how Ace Ventura couldn't be made today. I think there's a lot of truth to that, and I don't even think that's a bad thing. However, the point is, what I did just now to explain the reasoning behind Ace Ventura is a lot more time and energy than in the script. It was really like someone made some comparison to Ace Ventura, and then Jake said, "Oh yeah, I love the movie despite the transphobia," and then moved on, and that was it. And there were a lot of examples of that. So the other thing, and I want to zoom in on this character here. The captain of the 99th precinct in Brooklyn, Raymond Holt here. I don't know any actors' names except for Andy Samberg, but I know him for unrelated reasons. Anyway, coming back to Captain Holt. In his office, he has a cup that he uses as a pen holder, and there's a tiny little rainbow pride flag in his cup holder. Now, that, like, it's literally a rainbow, okay? It's easy to notice. However, given the context, it is extremely easy to forgive, because first of all, it's a tiny little flag on his desk. And the most important part is the character's backstory. So Raymond Holt, who right now is the police captain, basically his backstory is that he's openly gay. And right there, being an openly gay black cop in the 70s gives you this kind of backstory where you've kind of earned the right to have a tiny little rainbow flag on your desk. Considering that if a tiny little rainbow flag on the captain, who probably went through a whole bunch of shit, both for having been black and having been gay in the 70s, and a couple throwaway lines here and there, is the worst that you have to deal with over 8 seasons of content, I'm giving that a pass. There is one exception, or I wouldn't say exception, but it is an example of the preachiness that I remember when I watched this. I was disappointed in how this show, which had done such a great job of sprinkling its values in a way that isn't that annoying and totally understandable, had resorted to preaching during this episode. So the episode is, let me just bring up the wiki here. The episode is He Said, She Said. This is a very serious issue, which is, let's just go to the plot here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Seth Haggerty broke his penis, but is also accused of committing sexual assault. Basically, this Wall Street type is in the precinct and is accused of sexually assaulting one of his employees, who's like this entry level woman in that firm. And again, this is a very serious issue. However, the part that I thought was surprisingly preachy was because the two main female characters, Rosa here, who is absolutely stunning but plays this kind of sociopathic tough tomboy type, and Amy here, they had a disagreement because when the businessman got accused of sexual assault, he offered like a bargain to like settle it out of court or whatever. And let me read this part from the wiki here. Amy convinces her to let them investigate. Amy asks Rosa for advice. To her surprise, Rosa says Carrie, who's the victim, should take the deal because she feels her life will be negatively affected by pressing charges, even if she wins the case against him, and it's better to walk away with money instead of nothing. This part here, the scene that is summarized in this line, was Amy saying, really, you think she should take the deal? I think that she should go forward. And the exchange between these two characters was very obviously the writers engaging in the Socratic dialogue between whether or not, how people should deal with pressing charges against their employer when they've been sexually assaulted by them. Again, a very serious thing. However, this was uncharacteristically preachy in the dialogue. And I remember while I was watching this scene, I was like, oh man, what a disappointment, because the people who need to hear this message the most will be absolutely turned off by this scene. What later really made the whole episode, and to me, in my mind, compensated for this scene was, actually, let's read it here. Amy, okay, let me just go back over here. So Jake and Amy are the two main characters. So Amy is this one here on the right, and Jake is Andy Samberg here. So they have this whole Sam and Diane thing through the whole series, and I forget if at this point in the series they were dating or just, having this ambiguous sexual tension between them. I'm pretty sure they were already dating at this point. But anyway, I just wanted to point out who Jake and Amy are, because if you don't know who Jake and Amy are, they're literally the two most important characters in the whole show. So coming back, Amy then reveals to Jake that the case is personal for her, as her mentor in the police academy once tried to kiss her after he helped her become a detective, making it clear that he felt she owed him for his assistance, which resulted in her transfer to the 99th precinct. Now, oh yeah, she never told this to anyone out of fear she wouldn't get any other promotion. So as much as the scene between Amy and Rosa was unfortunately very preachy, the scene between Jacob and Amy was really good. What is her name? Melissa Fumero. During that, oh shit, my browser isn't even up. During the scene where Amy talks to Jake about her boss her mentor trying to kiss her after helping her for her career and shit, I literally just looked up her name. Geez, I shouldn't laugh. Wait, Melissa Fumero. Holy shit. So yes, during the scene where she tells her story to Jake, Melissa fucking crushes it it was some of the best acting I've seen in that series. Definitely the best acting I've seen in that episode. And I remember, especially since that scene happened after her dialogue with Rosa before, when I was watching that scene saying, yes, this is how you do it. That's how you do it. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Oh, actually, this is a great segue because, listen, I don't watch a lot of, I don't watch any content that's made in Quebec. Honestly, almost all of my media intake is from, the English world, English Canada, and the US. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because there was a Quebec remake of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I remember there being some controversy about it because they were remaking this show right here with these main characters that you see on your screen right now, and almost all of the characters in the remake were white. And that's kind of weird. And Melissa Fumero, I think her name is. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry. Yes, Melissa Fumero here called them out and said, like, hey, it's kind of weird that your fucking remake of our show barely has any barely has any like people of color in it, So yeah, I just wanted to mention that as well. I just want to talk about actually let's focus a little more on her. So remember how I said how beautiful the cast is? I just want to point out that at some point, because these are all detectives, right? And detectives usually wear civil clothes. This is how Amy would dress during most of the season, but then at some point she got a promotion and she needed to go down to the beat cops section where the police in uniform. And when I saw her in uniform, I'm like, holy shit, how can she still be this gorgeous in uniform? It is astonishing to me. And again, I'm sure you take any one of these people and put them in uniform, there would be a similar phenomena to this. But yeah, I will circle back to this later on. Let us focus on season 8. Season 8 being the last season, it takes place during 2020. And I gotta say, remember earlier how I was talking about how yes, Sid's got a crush, absolutely. Take me in, I'm guilty. All right. And I've admitted it on video too. So yeah, season 8 takes place during 2020, and I gotta say, on one hand, episode 1 of that season was extremely preachy. However, there was a lot of things to cover in a short amount of time, and the preachiness in that entire season was almost entirely contained in that one episode. So the premise behind the season actually is that because of George Floyd, the George Floyd thing made Rosa, who is this lady on the left of your screen right now, reconsider her role in the police, and she ends up quitting the force to become a PI, and says, I can help my community better that way. So during that episode, there was a lot of exposition that needed to be done because also there was coronavirus, and during the first scene of that show, the characters that were in it were wearing masks, and then Rosa tells the people that she's leaving the force. And the funny thing is, after the opening credits, Raymond Holt here delivers a line which can be interpreted as being preachy, but it was something like, we had to slow things down because of coronavirus, but now everyone is vaccinated, so we can return to business as usual. On one hand, that line it was a little gauche, so to speak. However, when you know the show, this is actually something that is actually a line that fits the character of Raymond Holt. He's a very deadpan, say it like it is. I don't mince words. I just nakedly spew facts in this very unemotional way. That's kind of like the core of his character. So weirdly enough, that line that I just like paraphrased to you, the fact that Raymond Holt was the one to say it was in itself the spoonful of sugar that helped the medicine go down. So that was I would give that a pass. I give that line a green check mark. Coming back to the preachiness, another theme that came through with this show was the theme of police reform in general. And in order to lead up to that, let me put the group picture on screen again. Rosa gets a client who got, I think, Rosa gets a client who gets harassed by some police officers, okay? And Rosa starts investigating them, and the head of the police union decides to, protect the two cops or whatever. And that led to the cops of the 99th precinct eventually doing a walkout. And during that time, they had to like make do with fewer cops to deliver the same service of policing or whatever. And that event planted the seed of police reform, because something that happened while there were fewer cops on the street was that all these negative stats went down, like false arrests, complaints against the force, and things like that. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because there was a scene between Raymond Holt and the head of the police union. Let me try if I can find him here. There he is. I don't know this actor's name, but I think he did a good job of... nope, that's not what I want to do. This one here. I think he did a good job of being this really despicable guy. The funny thing is, this character was first introduced in the first episode, and it was preachy enough as is, which I just talked about. And this guy is a caricature, and I was like, oh shit, did they just fall into both traps that I just talked about? But it's different because this was a recurring character throughout the whole season. So coming back to what I was just talking about, during a face-off between Raymond Holt and this guy, there was this really elaborate speech that Holt gives about how, maybe with fewer policemen on the streets, that would forge a better relationship with the community, because the community is really important, and we need our relationship with the community to help the detectives do work, because the police can't help the community if the people in the community don't want to talk to the police, and that kind of thing. I just said the word community a lot, but the point is, that particular speech, as I was watching it, I'm like, oh, this is clearly a writer going off on a rant on police reform, and using Raymond Holt as the puppet to deliver this rant. Again, this barely happens at all in the 8 seasons. I highly recommend the show. And the final thing I want to talk about is Jake and Amy, because as I talked about, they have this like Sam and Diane vibe, and it was obvious from the beginning of the whole show that they had feelings for each other, but they were like kind of awkward and that kind of thing. And you can't have a long running show with two characters like that forever. And at some point, they start dating, and later on they get married. And at the end of season 7, or yeah, I think it's at the end of season 7, they have a kid, and Amy gives birth at the season finale of one of the seasons, probably season 7. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because Brooklyn Nine-Nine was a police comedy, okay? And I think they did a great job of being that. And I was worried when Jake and Amy finally admitted their feelings for each other and started dating. I was kind of worried that the relationship between the two main characters would turn this show into a rom-com, and I was really worried. I was kind of concerned, and then when they got married, I was legit worried that this was going to slowly turn into a rom-com. I felt that concern was vindicated when Amy gave birth. And I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be a family rom-com now. Well, hopefully the show does a good enough job of persuading me to continue to watch. But they fucking ended it at just the right time, because, this new family is with us now. And only one season takes place. I would say the family stuff takes a reasonable amount of space in the show, didn't overtake it. But, these are the two main characters. It would be really weird if their son wasn't mentioned at all. So, yeah, I think that yet another piece of anecdotal evidence of how the show ended at just the right time was how the sexual tension between Jake and Amy culminated into them having a child together. And one more season and we're done. Beautiful job. Bonus meme. There was an episode where Jake falls for one crypto scam after another, and it was delivered in a really comedic way, where he bought like a bunch of coins during pump and dumps that he would fall for. And me, being a crypto enthusiast, could easily interpret this as like the writers being cynical with crypto, but that on its own isn't proof enough. I think that they did a good job. And thank you very much for the 8 years of entertainment for most of you, and the 1 year and some change of entertainment for me. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please click on this card right here to watch the next one. Thank you very much. I will see you soon.